Welcome back to my Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke with no duplicate types allowed. In the last episode, we went from Floroma Town to Hearthome City and experienced everything in between. A handful of tough boss battles were conquered, with Mars and Jupiter both falling to a couple of fantastic team efforts. Kricketune and Dionysus had their way with Gardenia, and it took everything we had to make it through Fantina without losing everyone. We've made some new friends along the way, and also lost one of our favorites. It's time to pick ourselves back up and press forward. Let's do this. Before we move on to our next rival fight in Route 209, I've decided to go out and attempt to obtain Apollo's replacement sooner rather than later. With only 4 usable team members left and some challenging obstacles ahead of us as we look to move towards Veilstone City, I want to make sure we're well equipped. Dionysus is going to be the hard carry for now, at least for a little bit, until Zeus can evolve at level 30. We make our way back through Jubilife, both sections of Route 204, stopping in Floroma Town to grab another free berry, and we are now approaching our targeted encounter location, Route 205. We're targeting Shellos here specifically, but there is a 15% chance we get Buizel instead, so let's see if we can get what we're looking for. And it is in fact a Shellos. Wonderful. I thought Gastrodon would be overall pretty solid replacement for Apollo, sharing some characteristics that kind of fulfill a similar role. It evolves around the same level, just in time for Maylene I may add, and it's known for being bulky and also a bit slow. But that's okay, because the advantage we will have with Demeter here is the much better defensive typing, and she's a special attacker as well, which we really needed honestly based on our current lineup. I'll update the type chart in just a minute here, and you will notice that ground, water, and dragon will all be removed from the board, leaving only 6 types for the rest of the run. Heading further north, we begin Demeter's training in the Old Chateau, where we can farm up some special attack EVs while leveling up our newest team member. I'm having Hephaestus lean into special attack as well for this playthrough. I think it'll suit him well. As we make our way back to Hearthome City, starting with Cycling Road, it's worth noting that I'll be skipping out on Machop for the time being, even though our odds of catching one have increased significantly now that we have removed the ground typing from the board. We still have about an equal chance of running into Ponyta instead, at least for now. We will be picking up our fire type before facing Maylene though, so we do have an opportunity to come back and grab Machop afterwards if we really want to be safe. And you know what? Probably not a bad idea. After hiking over the mountains of Route 208, we give Hearthome a quick wave and then head out of the city's eastern entrance where Barry has been waiting very impatiently for our arrival. He's probably been here for quite some time now. Let's do this. We begin with Zeus and Staravia awkwardly exchanging intimidates with each other, followed by a double team from Barry's bird. Zeus is not phased though, and the first spark connects. A large amount of damage, and we get the paralysis as well. And now that we're faster, we go for another spark. And as quickly as Staravia entered the battle, so too was its exit. Barry goes for Buizel next, which is odd to say the least, but Zeus seems to be quite happy about it. Another spark brings the cute little otter down. Monferno joins the fight now, and I opted to keep Zeus in for an additional turn to see what she could do here. The leer from Monferno is totally fine, and our spark causes yet another paralysis. Fantastic work here, Zeus. Let's give you a well-deserved break while Dionysus cleans this up. We've got an incoming flame wheel now, and Dionysus is able to shake it off and go for the kill. We did come prepared with a Rost Berry just in case we got burned there, and a crit would not have brought us down either. Only Rosalia to go, and I think we've got this one covered as well. A very stress-free rival fight this time around. Certainly refreshing after what we went through against Fantina. Now let's talk about Route 209 while we experience the content that it offers. I am repelling here just for convenience sake, but we don't actually have to worry about running into a legal encounter until the sun goes down. Duskull is the only Pokemon we can obtain if we like, and we might have to at some point in the run, but just like our targeted fire type, I do have another ghost type in mind as well. For anyone that has seen my Platinum walkthrough, you probably know what I'm going to try to get. We will come back to pick up Duskull though if we are unable to obtain our other option. I picked up the good rod for some reason, even though we can't use it for anything now that we've got our water type. Also, I told him that I didn't need any instructions, but he just proceeded to give them to me anyway. I just love it when Pokemon games do that to us. The berries are great on this route, especially the Chesto berry in our case, since we had to use the only one that we had against Fantina. I'll have to remember to plant this one at some point soon, so we aren't left without any moving forward. The battles are fairly uneventful. It would appear that the overall theme in this area is baby Pokemon, so nothing to worry about too much. Worth pointing out that I am finally putting the amulet coin to work here, so that we can work towards saving enough for those coveted Game Corner TMs. I have a feeling we're gonna need one of them for Maylene actually. It'll make more sense when we get there. And before I head into Salacian Town, I just wanted to point out also that I will not be going through the Lost Tower this time around. I'm just not in the mood to deal with the fog today. It's a good thing they keep this thing caged up. I really hate to see what it'll do to this town if it escapes. Stay on high alert, guys. I completely skipped over the ruins in my last playthrough, but this time around, the items obtained in the final room can be a bit more useful for us now. The boost to psychic type attacks may be necessary at some point, and the nugget will aid in our quest to fuel our gambling addiction. Moving on to Route 210, Ponyta is all we got here, both as a legal encounter and like half of the trainers here use one as well. Starting to realize that going over different routes for their encounters at this point in our playthrough is becoming quite predictable. 17 types sounds like a lot, but geez, we went through the majority of them super quick. I guess Pokemon with a single type are even more important for variety than I would have even anticipated. It also just goes to show that the more desirable Pokemon are wielding two types most of the time. On the flip side, I do understand that there is a comfort of sorts in knowing what we have to work with for the rest of the run. The TM for Roost is a nice highlight for us, as Dionysus now has his own self-healing option, and I also decided to go for the toughest battle on the route while we were here. I typically avoid Ava and Matt most of the time. Ponyta is already a very hard-hitting Pokemon during the earlier stages of the game, and pairing it alongside its evolution in a double battle setting is a little bit concerning if you aren't able to take at least one of them out quickly. Demeter tried to set up a rain dance to reduce any incoming flame wheels, but the stomp prevented us from doing so. Ponyta was taken out fairly quickly, and luckily no crits to be seen as we look to finish off Rapidash. It's a good thing they decided to go with a split approach as opposed to just piling onto Demeter. One final combo from our side, and the last of the ponies on the route are taken care of. Something I wanted to ask you guys while I'm standing next to this honey tree, what is your opinion on catching additional Pokemon in your Nuzlockes that are definitely not legal for the run itself, but can be used to obtain a specific item? For example, I'd love to slather this tree, along with a few others, so that I could maybe obtain both a male and a female Combi in order to obtain the Macho Brace in Pastoria City. I mean, that seems fair, right? I find that most people use an HM slave even when they don't technically have to, and I feel like this treads along similar ground. Let me know what you guys think about those situations. I'm curious as to how different players handle it. A quick trip back to Salacian Town to heal ourselves up, and now it's off to Route 215. If you were curious for your own no duplicate types playthrough, this is what you would have to choose from on your way to Veilstone City. Scyther certainly sticks out the most in my opinion, but I feel like it's just so hard to not run into a bug or a flying type before you reach this place. That's a ton of early encounters you'd have to avoid just to get here. It would be awesome for anyone that can pull it off though, because if you decide to evolve into Scizor, your flying type opens back up again, and then you can grab something else, which would be an excellent use of typings in my opinion. Picking up the fist plate for our future Machop. Vitamins are cool, I guess, and Shockwave may come in handy for the foggy sections of Route 210 later. Temporarily teaching it to Zeus, or anyone else that can learn it, to guarantee a strike in that double battle involving Gyarados seems like a safe bet. I know that fight isn't mandatory, but I find it fun to face off against the hardest overworld trainers that the game can provide on any given route. Before we take on Ace trainers Dennis and Maya, I decided to go completely overkill on preparation and evolved a few more team members. Demeter has been holding the experience share this whole time, so she is first. And after rebattling a couple of black belts a few times, Zeus has officially grown up before our very eyes. And with these events taking place, Dennis and Maya stand zero chance against this. Our final obstacle before we hit Veilstone was nothing more than an outlet to break in our new power. Entering Veilstone, we take care of business as usual. I'll deal with you two later. I'm going to happily take any chance I get to steal from these idiots. I spent some time selling whatever we could to inch closer to our 200,000 Poké Dollar goal, picked up the coin case for a little bit later, and I started making my way over to Route 214 before we took on our 4th gym challenge. Let's get into it. Other than using the trainers in the area to level up our team, we do have the TM for Dig, which can be picked up in the nearby cave. Well, I guess it's not much of a cave, but more of a hole in the wall, I suppose. Also, the fact that Zeus is incapable of learning Dig just seems crazy to me. Am I the only one? I'll just have to hold on to it for now. Artemis was putting in some serious work against Collector Brady, leveling up twice during the fight and picking up X-Scissor in the process. This poor Tangela is going to be obliterated. Carlos here is another big reason why we're covering this route now, because he has a very hefty payout for us if we battle him over and over again, and it's a very simple fight with only a Goldeen to worry about. I'm sorry? What? Whoa, just wait a fucking second. Goldeen doesn't get Horn Drill until level 40. Game Freak, you absolute trolls. Jeez. Well, I guess you'll learn something new every day, even in a 15-year-old video game that you've dumped hundreds of hours into. I'll have to make note of that for future runs. Man, and yeah, that really sucks, because I was actually enjoying Artemis, and she literally just got X-Scissor too. While I was looking forward to seeing what a Kricketune could do in the later stages of the game, at least she did have a chance to shine for a bit on Gardenia. Farewell, Artemis. You'll get another chance someday. I promise. We moved Zeus to the head of the party so we can empty Carlos's pockets safely, but not before we pick up our next encounter. You noticed I didn't start the route with this table, huh? Well, in light of recent events, there's certainly no better time to pick up a new team member than right now. I hope you guys are as excited as I am, for our fire type of choice for the run will be Houndoom. Oh man, is this thing a beast. Possibly one of the best encounters you can receive in Platinum in general. As the Pokemon's theme suggests, I think we'll enjoy raining hell upon our opponents. And you guys already know the name. We just have to. Now let's just make sure we don't get f***ing horn drilled by another Goldeen. After a fairly long session of beating the crap out of Carlos, we now have the Game Corner funds to obtain, you probably already saw where this was going, the TM for Flamethrower. And now Hades is sufficiently equipped to burn everything to the ground. We have come quite a long way from Hearthome City, but now it is finally time to face off against Maylene for badge number 4. Let's do this. We open up with Dionysus, who is perfectly equipped to deal with Meditite. This pluck should hurt quite a lot. Machoke has entered the battlefield, and I'm fully expecting this to take at least 2 strikes, and we'll probably get the Rock Tomb in response. Or we could just get a crit and remain at full HP going into Lucario instead. Yeah, sure, why not? I had a completely separate strategy for Maylene's ace, because I was under the assumption we would be slower after Machoke's Rock Tomb. But I guess Dionysus is just gonna do this himself. Pluck appears to be a 3-hit KO, and Metal Claw's damage is not very threatening at the moment. The second Pluck lands. And the next Metal Claw does crit, but not only did we know we were fully safe from death in that situation, we also know that this final Pluck will cap off our easiest boss battle of the entire run so far. Definitely one of the easiest Cobble badges I have ever earned. After heading back through town and giving Dionysus a well-needed break, we go and help Dawn over by the Galactic Warehouse. The grunts were nothing as usual, but at least their pathetic excuses for team composition granted Hephaestus enough experience to evolve at last. Amazing moment for the team, as everyone is now fully evolved now. We're not even halfway through the series yet, and I feel like I've known these guys for so long already. I think the nicknames made a big difference. Alright, yeah, I know, you're frickin' late again as usual. Now get out of my way so I can teach Fly to Dionysus and get the hell away from you. While getting away from Looker is a nice bonus, the real reason we're putting our new HM to good use right away is to pick up yet another encounter. That's right, now that we have our fire type, the only legal encounter for us back on Route 206 is none other than Chad Jr. Machop is a great addition to the team, giving us not only another hard-hitting physical attacker, but you can't forget about that excellent bulk either. Welcome aboard, Hera. I'm going to box Hephaestus for the time being as we make our way over to Pastoria City. I still need Gaia's Rock Smash for Route 213, and I don't feel like teaching it to Hera right now. I've got a moveset in mind for her already. Took a nice little nighttime stroll down Route 214, forgetting that we actually managed to avoid Collector Douglas until now. Zeus takes issue with his evolutions and just goes on to clobber each one with ease. Moving on to the Valor Lakefront, we've got some familiar faces without too much to note. Giraffe Rig is pretty unique, but again, delaying your normal type until now would be very difficult. I forgo the double battles in the restaurant and just kind of hang around the exterior on this brisk winter night. I remember when I played Pearl version for the first time, I probably spent like a solid 10 minutes doing anything I could to get into this pool. I don't know why that was so interesting to me at the time. Man, the things you can do when you don't have responsibilities. Before we left the lakefront, we picked up the TM for Trick Room from the Clown, and I'm a little intrigued, honestly. We've got some pretty decent targets for it with Demeter, Hera, and Hephaestus. The primary issue with Trick Room is that you can't really utilize any other setup alongside it without potentially putting yourself in an awkward position. Trick Room is your setup, and primarily operates alone, which is probably why it's not as useful outside of double battles. But I don't know. Hera could hit hard enough in theory without buffs to get some good use out of it maybe. Heading out to the beaches of Route 213, I start by collecting the various items lying about. I think I'll need some more shards at some point. Hera's gonna want an elemental punch or two. I broke out the metal detector for a little bit to grab those pearls and heart scales. And since we have a strong electric type for this run, I actually took on the fisherman on the southwestern end this time around. Zeus ain't afraid of no Gyarados. The TM for Aerial Ace is the reason why I brought Gaia along for this route, and a couple of Rost Berries later, we have arrived in Pastoria City. always feels like I'm coming home when I get here. We've got some work to do though, so let's get started. First order of business is to rip all of these berries out of the ground and replace them with the citrus and chesto varieties. We're gonna head over to Route 212 in a minute before we take on Crasher Wake. We'll need money from the fine lady and gentleman outside of the mansion, but there's another citrus berry on that route as well that I'd like to multiply. I have the move relearner teach Hades Thunderfang, which will help deal with any flying and or water types we may encounter. I grab a free anti-super effective berry from the lady inside this house, one of the biggest reasons I come back to this town on a daily basis. And finally, I step into the Great Marsh for a brief moment just to pick up a random free shard, which is another daily activity that I will be partaking in. I'm not going to go into what you can actually catch here, as that encounter table would take up the entire screen. But suffice it to say, we won't be needing anything from here anyway. Moving on to Route 212 now. Let me just open up by pointing out that to say Zeus tore this route into pieces would be a gross understatement. I mean, our girl was in heaven on this rainy day. The Parasol Lady was the first to be crushed by Zeus's relentless sparks, and then we got to the docks where all the fishermen took a second to look up and pause as if they've already been paralyzed. Oh, they tried to run, but Zeus wasn't having any of that as these Gyarados just crumbled beneath her paws. Good news for Collector Dean at least. No one was able to see his tears through the rain as Zeus put a foot in both Umbreon and Espeon. The scientist on the western side of the route panicked and tried to use an X defend on his Kadabra just to ease the pain a little bit. And the park rangers weren't safe either. Zeus's performance was so inspiring it actually forced Hera to evolve. Man, what an exhilarating tear through Route 212. I'm really happy with how far Zeus has come. She's worked really hard to get here. Now out of the rain and onto why we came here to begin with, I'll take that, thank you. And now we farm up enough cash to give Zeus a very well-deserved upgrade. Back in Pastoria to take on our rival once again. Let's hope this goes just as well as it did last time. Naturally, Zeus opens up the fight against Barry's bird, but this time the incoming Intimidate will actually mean nothing, as Zeus's new weapon is put to good use right away. Weasel comes out next, as expected, which is a really weird habit that Barry's been into lately. Seriously, against any other trainer AI in the game, I wouldn't ever guess that they would dare send in a Weasel to take on a Luxray. Anyway, Monferno is out now, and I give Demeter a chance to finally put in some work. The incoming Flame Wheel does nothing as we go for a Water Pulse. Barry's ace is left with merely a sliver of HP, and he actually opts for the switch into Rosalia. Alright Barry, not a bad strat. I send in Hades in response, tank the magical leaf with ease, and then go for a flamethrower. Monferno is all that remains, and I decided to keep in Hades to finish this off, completely forgetting that Mach Punch exists. Come on, Grumpy, you gotta stop and think about this a little bit. Thank Arceus that nothing happened here, but I think that was a pretty good indication that I'm getting just a little bit tired today. Barry is defeated once again, at least. We'll have to do just a little bit more training now before we head into the ring to face off against Crasher Wake. And with that, this episode is now over. It really sucks that we lost Artemis, especially in the way that we did. But with Zeus and Demeter fully evolved and Hera now by our side, our future still looks very promising. In the next one, we've got Crasher Wake, Celestic Town, Iron Island, and perhaps even more. I hope you guys will stick around to see what happens next. In the meantime, as usual, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content like this. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.